Hi, everybody. I'm going to take a break from talking about public education for a bit. There's a ton more to say, but I need to shift gears for a while to avoid feeling like it's in a rut. So instead, I'm going to talk about a fairly broad topic briefly: government regulation of business. So, good, bad, necessary, evil? What about the free market? Well, the problem with free market as a blanket solution is you got to look at what the free market has given us in the past. Things like slavery, serfdom, DDT, mass extinctions, climate change, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, etc. Each of those examples was caused by the lack of, or undone by the addition of, government intervention. The concept of free market solving problems is fundamentally flawed. The premise is that the rich folk will just wake up one day and say, you know what, to hell with profit. Let's just do the right thing and hope we stay rich. Now, I'm not advocating government regulates everything. That would be ridiculous, unwieldy, and remove a lot of the freedom from our lives. But some regulation is not only necessary, it's beneficial. Um, what's shocking to me is how many people cling to this idea that capitalism and the free market can solve any problem, despite the fact that it causes so many. Did you know? You can get Republicans to believe in climate change just by telling them that the solution to stop the warming is to allow the free market to come up with new technologies to fight it. But if you suggest government regulation of carbon emissions, they insist that climate change isn't real. How odd is that? Here's a link to a study that shows just that, published by the American Psychological Association. The idea that businesses will solve problems if left to their own devices has been proved false over and over again throughout history, but there are recent examples too. With California facing record drought, Nestle is pumping out groundwater and runoff water in California without permits and selling it across the world as bottled water. Now tell me exactly how that doesn't make the drought worse. Tell me how that water couldn't have been used to water crops or to drink, by the people who live there, or to keep the national forest in good shape. These activities are hurting not just farms and communities, but the wildlife. And they haven't been permitted to do it since 1988. But there they go. We have an epidemic of obesity in America, and the causes are quite clearly known. The oversimplified version is that our food is poisoning us. And the problem is that we're genetically programmed to like fatty, salty, oily foods because, from an evolutionary perspective, when our species was being formed into what it is today, these foods, they gave us fat stores to help survive the winter, and they were scarce. But now they're everywhere. And if the free market was going to solve the issue of obesity, our food would get healthier across the board. Instead, it's getting worse. I mean, every day someone's coming up with some new combination of donuts and bacon and frosting. Now, at this point, you might think that despite my earlier assertion, that I'm in favor of regulating the crap out of everything. But let me give you an example of something that would be a nightmare to regulate and would probably cause all sorts of new problems. A friend recently suggested that we raise the minimum wage to a living wage, but only for those 18 and over. For those 17 and under, it would stay where it is, which is roughly half of what she supports raising the minimum wage to adults, or for adults. Initially, I actually thought this might be a good idea. After all, one of the biggest criticisms I hear against wage increases is that kids don't need a living wage. But then I thought about it some more, and I realized just how badly this could go wrong. So let's say you're a business owner with 100 retail employees, not counting managers and the like. Just 100 entry-level grunts, essentially. Now, if they're all 16, 17 years old, you could pay them maybe $7.50 an hour. But the moment they turn 18, you've got to almost double their pay. What are you going to do? Now, a small business might simply pay them more to begin with so that the birthday raise isn't a huge increase in expenses. But I think a larger one might simply fire them the moment they turn 18 and hire another kid. But wait a minute. Wait. That would be age discrimination, and that is illegal, right? Well, prove it. See, if I was a savvy yet unscrupulous business person, I might hire a 16-year-old and then, after a year, start writing them up for minor things. Things that they got away with before because they weren't a big deal. But that way, when they turn 18, I could say, look, you've done a pretty good job, but we have a policy here, and you can't have more than 6 write-ups in any 12-month period, and you've got 7. I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. See, on paper, that's a legitimate reason to fire them. Now, as an adult, you're probably thinking, well, hey, they could just sue and win, especially if there's a pattern of this happening in the company. But then you're asking a teenager to know their rights, know how to find a lawyer, and be able to pay for a lawyer on those wages. To prevent this would essentially require an entirely new department be created in the government to monitor the hiring and firing of every single business in America. And of course, we got to pay these new government employees with tax dollars. Suddenly, an age-tiered wage system doesn't sound quite so good anymore. Consider also that the free market, as a concept, it's designed to allow anyone to start a business and become competitive. America, land of opportunity, Abraham Lincoln, from the log cabin to the White House. But with the sheer size and power of some companies, there are some industries in which you just can't do that anymore. You used to be able to. Not anymore. Don't believe me? Okay. Try starting a grocery store chain that would compete with Walmart. I dare you. Oh, and also you got to do it without government assistance programs for small business startups, because that's not free market, that's government intervention. Have fun! See, capitalism has been a remarkably successful system, and quite frankly, I'm very glad to know that with a lot of hard work and a little luck, I can advance and earn more. That's the beauty of it. But the system operates on the principle of human greed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because it provides a lot of incentive. But then we create a government system that allows money to equate to political power, such as with the Citizens United decision. And that means that those very few, way up there at the top, have a disproportionate amount of power over the masses down at the bottom. And that's where regulation has to come in. The trick is to find a balance that keeps the wealthy few from abusing the majority while still allowing for the growth of industry and commerce. Now, it's not easy, but it's really necessary. And, you can call it a necessary evil if you want, but the truth is that government regulation of business is necessary if we want this country to continue to thrive. So, like I said, nice short video. I know it's a very broad topic, but this is just kind of covering the basics. If there are questions or comments or things that you feel may not have been entirely accurate, feel free to comment, and I can address those in a later video. In the meantime, have a great day, and enjoy the approach of summer.